Hello, Toxics Watch. This is Scott at healthygolf.org, uh, going through a proposed workflow for how to check up on these purple air monitors we have installed on the Mississippi River in places we're trying to prevent more air pollution from coming. Um, these devices read every 10 seconds, so we don't want to be checking it every 10 seconds, but we need to establish a regular pattern of checking it, if not every day, which might be hard, maybe twice a week. Um, so here it is. These devices are also private, so they're linked to the sensors at healthygolf.org account, um, which hopefully you've received that password. It's also hidden on this dock for now. um, and that's the first thing to do is to log in to that, and even set your browser if you're using Chrome to that account. This might screw up all of your settings if you're in Chrome, so maybe do this in a browser like Grace or Firefox, some browser you don't use normally, um, that if you're used to your Google Office suite being a certain way, because certainly that took me a week to figure out. Now I just live with it. um, um, so but without that, you can't see what the monitors are doing because all of our residents have requested a certain amount of privacy. Okay, so um, so a little bit of background. You've logged in, you've dealt with it. That'll take you a day. Um, so what are some standards for the raw particulate matter 2.5 readings? EPA, which is DEQ standard in Louisiana, um, the readings shouldn't be above an annual average of 12 micrograms per meter squared, excuse me, and it shouldn't exceed 35 over the course of 24 hours. The World Health Organization, normally what we're looking for are spikes, right? So hopefully the spike doesn't exceed this. I think it has in an event I'm about to go into. We need to do a little math to confirm it, but um, the WHO standards, the World Health Organization standards, are tighter. Instead of 12, it's 10 for a yearly average, and instead of 35, it's 25 for a 24-hour mean. So we've heard all about how EPA and the World Health Organization can differ lately during the COVID crisis. So, uh, you know, we do think that the World Health Organization is more up to date in this case. And you can talk to Kim at Tulane Environmental Law Clinic and Corinne at Earth Justice, who know a lot more than I do about why that is. Um, what does PM 2.5 do? It's very small dust particles, the kind you can't even see. It gets into your bloodstream and can cause lung and heart issues by obstructing, the exchange of gases into the blood in your lungs. It can scar your lungs. You can choke out by breathing in dust and just die right there. Hopefully, nothing like that happens too often in Plaquemines Parish, although we've heard stories around the coal terminals. Um, but more commonly, we have things like, coughing, sneezing, a bit of respiratory distress. If it keeps going on and these events keep happening, you have adult onset asthma, um, ailments like COPD, barrel chest, where you've just been breathing. You get a good dose every so often, and your lungs get scarred. And you get big because your lungs get kind of, it's harder for them to expand and contract. So they get kind of stuck big. So it's known as barrel chest. Um, this isn't good for your lungs, so it can irritate the cells to where cancers can begin to form. It can lead to coronary heart disease. because your heart is having a harder time working, doing its job. And then even things like strokes can be induced by this kind of air pollution or long-term experience to air pollution. All of these things diminish the ability of your heart and lungs to function. So they also, since COVID also works on, you need healthy lungs to survive COVID. All of these things hurt you if you are vulnerable to contracting the COVID-19, and we all are in the pandemic. Ah, right. So even in children, lung function can be diminished by breathing too much dust, and then of course asthma development, lung function decline, and you can get infections. So we're very concerned about clean air in the COVID era, and of course we're concerned about it because it's the thing that causes you to miss work the most often. So just crassly, it affects the economy by missed work days, changes in work habits. And those are things, honestly, you should document. That's dollars and cents. It can impact your income. It impacts the parish income. It's impacting the whole world when you start adding these things up, especially. And sometimes the EPA does that. It's a bit cynical, but this stuff does add up to dollars and cents. And some folks who don't hear the environmental argument or the human rights arguments for why we should have clean air. Some folks listen to that money argument a bit closely. So it's the kind of thing we want to keep track of because your health is our wealth. So now I'm ranting, but review the contact lists if you're working for us. Um, I've got them hidden, but there's people you should call, and you should have these numbers in your phone. We should be probably contacting them weekly if we can. Um, and we need to log in and check for spikes. So here are some links where you can instantly go to a certain geography, right? The map will pull into a certain space and give you the particulate matter levels. Or if you wanted to, you can check the air quality levels. So rather than 1235 or 1025, it's really indexed so that above 50 for a week is bad, or above 100 for a day is bad. So purple air, the default is to report in this air quality index metric. But I think we want to get used to talking in the raw data, because that, if we use the Minivol, that device is going to be reporting milligrams per meter squared, just like the raw data on the purple air. So we've got two maps, upriver and downriver. We've got 6 that we're reading, 5 of ours, 1 of Lean's. And we should probably call lower 9 because they've got these guys installed, and we've had so many problems in Chalmette. We should loop them into this network as well. But first things first, let's take care of the ones we've installed. And if the sensors are down, call and text people to maybe turn off the Wi-Fi and let it come back on, or unplug the unit and plug it back in. That's basically all we can do, and usually that works. That's the problem with why we're not seeing connectivity. So let's just see what a map looks like. This is the lower river. This is the raw data. You can change it on the bottom left here. You can change it to PM25 air quality index. Still pretty low, right? The air quality index, the number is going to generally be higher than the raw number until we, yeah, right. And then this is averaged over 10 minutes, but the unit is reading everything every 10 seconds. So this is a little bit different than what people might be seeing on their phone. This is averaged over a longer time. So right now, the raw numbers, and notice I'm logged in as sensors at healthygulf.org here. The raw numbers are good. We click on it, and it gives us that 1. That's good. It gives us a bunch of things. It gives us the confidence. How well is the unit working? 100%. It gives you what the model is. It gives you the firmware that it's running on. It's got a little brain, and then it has, is A or B sick? There's 2 noses, those 2 blue boxes in the device. And then it tells you if this temperature sensor is working and uses that to calibrate. So this is a great little graphic for communicating, is the air quality okay? Notice that all of our now 10-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, 6 hour are great. A week, though, is bigger. And then when we clicked on it, it gave us this chart where we see the raw PM2.5 10-minute average goes over 200, almost to 300. So, and it wasn't for a very long time. This is a discrete event. And this is why the EPA calls these spikes, right? Because you look at this graph, and if this is why we want to check it twice a week. Notice that the date falls off more than a week past. But there it is. That's an event. And that's most likely an industrial source. We have regional problems where over several days this number might go up and down. And actually, if this wasn't such a huge deal, we'd see, things go up and down a little bit more on this graph. I think I can click on it and drag on it, and whatever's highlighted will get magnified, right? So we can see air quality changed in Phoenix on 23 August, 22 August, late in the afternoon. Wasn't so great. Air quality wasn't good. Not a quality that you'd want to have for very long. But then it went and got better. So that's interesting. And normally we want to check the meter with the Ironton one to make sure, do they agree? Are they different? Because that'll tell us more about the discreteness of any events. So I click on the Ironton one, but unfortunately it was not operating at that time of 23 August. So it just has limited data. That's unfortunate. Okay, back to resetting the zoom. This event, we want to highlight that it went into the red. Anytime we see a big spike going into this pink, we want to send an email out to our folks. Here, we can see that, we even had something that probably we'd want to report again, a second time, above 33, or we don't want that to be happening. Even the low EPA standard, right, is 35 for an hour. So we don't want that to be at 35 for an hour. Here, this dang thing is at 288, 290. For a good long while, it's above 70 for a good bit. So we could even, for 90 minutes, we were definitely above 35. So we had a problem. And this is a discrete event. So it's probably related to some of the air sources around Phoenix. We've got the refinery, of course, a big emitter. We've got the grain terminal, which is also a big thing. And then we've got some midstreamers that operate around in the river that are sources of grain pollution. So we don't know what this was, but definitely significant. And we want to check these twice a week. We don't have to email every time, but this warrants an email because we were above 35 for, from 10:15 to 11:40. So if this is related to one company, this is an air quality violation. I think I have that right. So we might even want to call the lawyers on this one, because it's so bad. Um, so maybe this isn't great as a teaching example. So you can screen cap this. You can also click on this context menu here. You know, I showed you the different things down here. Really, we want to either be using the raw or the AQI. Yeah, both of those things are things that people can understand. The AQI people are more familiar with. The raw is comparable to the Minivol. I'm sad we didn't have the Minivol out here over. And if you remember, this is Hurricane Marco. Everyone was evacuated, supposedly. I mean, maybe Daryl and stayed home. Maybe people stayed home, but there wasn't a mandatory evacuation for Plaquemines Parish outside of the New Orleans levee system. So basically, everybody but Belle Chase, the Navy base in Oakville, you know, was ordered to evacuate, and that's the whole East Bank, because the Great Wall is on the parish line between St. Bernard and Plaquemines on the East Bank. So when they say everything outside of New Orleans levee system, that's the whole East Bank District 1 of Plaquemines Parish. Um, and, you know, they'll tell Venetian Isles in Orleans Parish and Yokloski and Shell Beach in St. Bernard Parish and Delcro Island also will probably, you know, usually all three parishes have a similar mandatory evacuation on that east side outside of the levee system. So was Miss Darylyn home when this was going off? I hope not. You know, I hope she wasn't in this place. I hope nobody was breathing this. Somebody might have. And so we want to send an email to see if we have uh, stories for people to report. And here's where, you know, if they're signed up on IC Change, we would encourage them to use that platform to log an event. Or, you know, Kim Terrell and Miss Wilma just give people notebooks and tell people to write it down. And certainly if you're getting prepped for a lawsuit, probably the notebook approach might be more discreet, but it's whatever people, you know, people have their phones, so maybe IC Change is the way to go. This is something, if we caught this live, we'd want to report it to LDEQ, and it's like a week later. I'm considering doing it anyway. Um, Miss Darylyn may not want to do that, um, but maybe we can offer it, you know, because we think this is a pretty serious one. Okay, so this is, you know, it only lasted 90 minutes. This isn't the Saharan dust trend. This isn't a regional problem. But we can check that too. We can zoom out, even though we don't have a lot of sensors that compare. You can see that. We can compare it, and Ironton wasn't working. Let's compare it to Lockport. And Lockport, yeah, Lockport, no, nothing like that was happening in Lockport. Let's compare it to, who's this? Terrytown. Gretna. Gretna's got one. Heck yeah. All right, good. Um, Having some issues with their temperature sensor, but you know, we can see that they didn't have this issue. We have Gretna up there. We can even put, you know, Kenner, you know, just to compare it. Like, no, this was only happening in Phoenix at that time. So, right. And then we can also hit this view full screen to show it. And, you know, it's helpful to me to have all these other monitors down there for reference. And then I think it's good to have this one. That's 41. Shoot. Or maybe we can pick the 134 just to show, you know, those colors are at the EPA standard for a reason, right? So anything above that orange shouldn't be in that orange for more than an hour. And here we have it from 10:15 to 11:50. So yeah, let's take a screen cap of that. Screen cap, bink. Then I'm gonna You could even print this, but I find that the printing stinks. But anyway, we can print it. I like the screen cap. Then I'm gonna, well, that's funny. Yeah, okay. Doing this while recording is funny. I've never done that before. It puts my weird face in things. Okay. I might do this again after the video, but I want to name it something. It's definitely the raw Phoenix Raw PM. You know, over 35 micrograms per meter squared at 10:30 a.m. on August 24th. Okay, and I already saved a different one with the peak. You can see that. And it looks like I had a spike in Ironton that I should have emailed them about. So, yeah, we need to get on this. So, what was happening with the wind at August 24th? Well, we can look at the different weather stations in the area. Again, we don't have a lot of these weather stations in African American areas. That's true in New Orleans, Lower 9. We need one there. So let's talk to Roland Black and get one installed. Let's talk to someone in Plaquemines and install a weather station. But, you know, we've got it in Jesuit Bend area, the Ollie area, the Naomi area. And we can go have a link that I should put in the workflow document, actually, for this Belle Chase station. It's called Sarah Victoria. That might be the person's name. I don't know. Maybe they just named it that. Some weather nerd. But we're able to see the current conditions, but also the weather history on that day, August 24th, and click view, click, and it gives us, well, the wind direction was from the north-northeast. There was a tropical storm, so we might want to check on that. And so we can, you know, go to 10:30 a.m. and see that, you know, the wind direction, which are these little dots down here, was 25 degrees. So like that, you know. So it wasn't really coming from Alliance. It was coming more from Toka, maybe. So that is interesting. I mean, this event could have been so huge it didn't matter, right? That the thing was just spreading, and 20 degrees isn't really off. It's coming from the north. So we're still generally in the direction of Alliance, generally still in the direction of the grain terminal. Yeah. And then just to show what was going on the 18th of August for that Ironton spike, or the 24th, we had an event the 23rd, and that was the Alliance event. We click on that and it says, you know, at 2 p.m. on the 23rd, the Alliance reported an ongoing flaring event, sulfur dioxide from equipment failure, and currently in excess of 500 pounds. So we can include that link in the email as well. So here we go. I think I have it drafted to Miss Darylyn concerning the Phoenix. Hey, Miss Darylyn, on August 24th, the purple arrow is very high. I realize most everyone is evacuated. I'm wondering if you see any new dust in your home since this event. The event went to 292 for half an hour and stayed above 50 for 90 minutes. This was a large dust event. Half an hour, okay. You know, but all other sensors didn't report something like this. And the wind was north-northeast at the time. And here's the report from Alliance. And then, have you noticed any bad day or in that day since being home? I'm assuming she's back in her home. I don't even know. Everything's a bit crazy right now, but this probably warrants a phone call as well. Yeah, let me attach that spike. Oh, I misnamed it. Let's put it. So it was 90 minutes over 35 micrograms. So, which is bad and not supposed to happen. Boom, email. Okay. So, you know, and I've included in the workflow document some screen caps of this kind of thing. Oh, and this is the index for and this is Sarah Station in English. Sorry, Jesuit Bend. Right, because each of these has a weather station that it's closest to. But hey, these weather stations only cost $160. So we might consider trying to raise monies to have one actually in the towns we're looking at. Okay, yeah, attach graph of spike. Yeah, I'm going to add to this workflow document. And yeah, here you go. There's a little bit about the spikes. And here's an example email about the air quality index. But my daughter is waking up, and that's a pretty long video. Hopefully this gets you into a proposed workflow. Let me know if you can log into that email, and let's get going on Toxics Watch. All right, peace.